comes creeping through the cracks. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Don't you wanna go back home? Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Don't you wanna go back home?
Welcome to another episode of Sing Talk Play, the show where we find you your next favorite artist. So tonight we're hanging out with Hello Moth. Hello, Moth.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. So you have a very simple setup and a very simple stage scenario, but your sound is so big. A lot of people, I'm sure, who maybe have heard your stuff or will hear your stuff recorded, I'm sure will not expect what they see when they find you on stage, because you really only have two pieces of electric gear and your voice.
I've actually been doing this the entire time. And so one of the things that happened when I was recording the album was that I kind of saw that there was this opportunity to make it very close to the live sound in terms of at least the size of the sound that I was producing. And the one thing that's different on the album as opposed to the live show is just live. I try to be very engaged as a performer, let's say. And so maybe I have a gesture here and there, or I wouldn't call it musical theater at all, but it's theatrical in a way. And then on the album, I took a lot of influence from cinematic music in order to kind of replace the drama that you get on stage with kind of an audio drama, because I think a lot of the time when people hear cinematic music, because they're used to associating that with a cinematic image, they tend to create something a little bit more complex in their minds as a visual for the song that they're hearing. It's actually fairly intimidating for me as a performer to get up and to be alone and to have to sell that by myself. It's a different experience than what I was used to before I started doing this, but I developed a lot of comfort by starting at open mics and really coming through the singer-songwriter community in Calgary. And so I didn't have to wrap my mind around following or preceding a band until a little bit later. And by that point, I at least knew how to control my performance enough that it didn't affect me all that much. But usually I find that people kind of tune in and they say, "Oh, what's going on? This is just one guy." As soon as a couple layers of the looping are built up, and at that point, the people who are going to be interested, who will find it impressive or worth paying attention to, are locked in, and the people who wouldn't really enjoy as much what I'm doing as if I was a band have tuned out, and so then I know exactly where my audience is pretty quickly.
And is the content of the music rich with story as well? It sounds like it might be.
It's certainly rich with imagery. Again, to maybe try to conjure up images in the listener. I don't actually think I have any story songs the way that you'd have coming out of the folk tradition. Many of the songs that I do are just, when I started, it was kind of a dark time for me in my life, and I was trying to kind of grab onto little bits of truth that I could find here or there. And whenever I found something that I thought was, this is authentic, this I can hold on to, I kind of wanted to have a place to put that truth, and I put it into a song usually. And so via imagery and lots of metaphor and everything, it turns into this, each song is like a little vessel for personal truth.
I'm also really intrigued by this tiny little device you have here.
instrument itself is from 1980. So they're very, very old. They're 34 years old at this point. And one of the things that's always attracted me to it, it's a Casio VL tone. I'm not sure if you get a shot there, but one of the things that really attracts me to it is how limited it is. It's monophonic, for instance, so I can't play chords. It's, if I play multiple buttons, you only hear one note at a time. And that in itself is enough of a limitation that it kind of brings out creativity in a way that I didn't initially expect. But if you think of like the possibilities that are present in a symphony orchestra, for instance, anytime that you're making a creative decision, you're faced with about many, many thousands, if not millions, of things that you could do. Many, many thousands of which would sound right in context of what you're already composing. Whereas with this, each creative choice that I have is, maybe in the tens or hundreds rather than these millions. And so it becomes a lot easier for me as an artist to process where I'm going with the song, what's going to sound right, just based on what I'm capable of doing. And that same principle of limitation is present in the loop pedal that I use as well. Like each line that I record that's then played back to the audience can only be up to 16 seconds long. You can't take away a layer underneath something new that you've added, and all these kind of little rules that I need to observe when I'm writing a song that help me not to have to do as much thinking or to make myself sound not completely lazy. It's a limitation that I need to overcome creatively, which brings out my creativity.
That's amazing. You're taking something that's finite and making it almost infinite sounding, which is
got the
great.
name of the album there, Infinitely Repeated.
I was more than the loss of something wonderful when I saw her first. And I was old, I was cold, I was in need of a bright light to guide me. And I saw it in her face, and I was afraid. I was raised by heroes and I wound up dying anyway. It wasn't a loss unless you think about it that way. 'Cause lives are only fun to watch in the action replay. One worthless wish, infinitely repeated. One worthless wish, infinitely repeated. It was dark, and I sold my soul down the river. He's a taker, then he's a giver. The devil knows the value of everything he trades. And I was one